years ago, ketamine was either a horse tranquilizer or Special K, a club drug, depending on your social circle. Now it's a popular treatment for depression. So I wouldn't be surprised if we see the same thing from some of these psychedelics. Right off the bat, MindMed's got my attention. However, this is also an incredibly messy story, maybe not surprising considering the business they're in. On the same day Stephen asked me about the thing, MindMed announced that his co-founder and CEO was leaving the company. At the same time, the stock roared. It was up 23% last week on incredibly high volume, in part because we just learned that this thing's being added to the Russell 3000 index. In the past couple of days, MindMed's given back a sizable chunk of its gains, although it's still up substantially versus where it was trading a week and a half ago. Now, before I get into details, you need to know that this is a tiny company that's insanely speculative. Stocks don't trade at $3 and change because everything's great. But as long as you treat it like speculation, believe it or not, I am actually willing to give MindMed my blessing, provided you only buy it with money that you are prepared to lose. What makes this thing so attractive that I would give it my blessing? Like I said, MindMed's trying to develop actual psychiatric medicines based on all sorts of psychedelic controlled substances. Believe it or not, my extended family has a long history of mental illness. I know, shocker. Although we just finished celebrating National Mental Health Month around the house. And we've heard some encouraging things about the studies on psilocybin, aka the magic ingredient in magic mushrooms. Okay, that's definitely not an endorsement because I never encourage anyone to break the law. But there are a lot of psychopharmacologists who believe this to be legitimate. And major depression is something that so many drug companies have tried and failed to do, including some of the news today. MindMed in particular has a surprising number of early stage clinical trials going on because they work with drug companies, the companies testing two different types of programs. They've got non-hallucinogenic therapies like microdosing on LSD as a treatment for ADHD, I kid you not. These they plan to market as regular medications, the kind of thing you pick up from a pharmacy. Then there are the actual hallucinogenic treatments, which need to be administered by a doctor in person. They're testing large doses of LSD as a treatment for anxiety and also cluster headaches. Now, I have not been able to do a lot of work with headaches. I do a lot of work as the spokesperson for American Migraine Foundation. None of them recommend this to me in my network, but you take it, the doctor will be right with you. Again, I've not been able to prove this, and I've got a pretty good network. Right now, MindMed's partnered with universities to discover potential treatments, but they've also got 3 drug candidates in phase 1 or phase 2 clinical trials. The most advanced is what they call Project Lucy. Think Lucy in the Sky with Diamonds, which is the LSD experiential treatment for anxiety. Company expects to launch a phase 2B trial in the 4th quarter. You throw anything at this at anxiety. Then there's Project Layla. Hey, say what you will about MindMed, they got a killer soundtrack. With Layla, the company's studying a derivative of ibogaine, which is a naturally occurring psychedelic as a treatment for addiction, especially opioid withdrawal. Oh, could we ever use that? Then you're in the end of phase 1 trials incredibly early, and assuming all goes well, wants to launch a phase 2 proof of concept trial early next year. Finally, there's the LSD microdosing drug for ADHD, which should go into phase 2 trials in Europe sometime in the 3rd quarter. Microdosing is when you take a teeny tiny amount of this stuff on a regular basis, like a normal medication. Put it all together, I actually think that MindMed, the company, has a compelling pitch. Okay, so that's that. Now we gotta talk about MindMed, the stock, often 2 different things. In March of last year, this thing started trading on an obscure Canadian exchange. We don't like that. It only began trading on the NASDAQ after it got uplisted here in April. Late last year, MindMed surged from less than $1, really don't like that, to $5 and change after the state of Oregon legalized psychedelics, something that doesn't have anything to do with the actual business here. Oregon is quite forward when it comes to these things. Was there a real catalyst? Nope, as I see it. Though the stock caught fire, it's part of the same speculative mania that lifted the electric vehicle SPACs. After that speculative bubble pop, MindMed pulled back to $3 and change. It rebounded to $4 and change in February, before tumbling to $2.05 when the whole speculative edifice collapsed in the spring. Then MindMed caught fire again when the stock got uplisted onto the NASDAQ in April. Once it actually started trading on the NASDAQ, though, it sold off hard. With shares now back to $3 and change level, well, it's well off its highs here. Now, it's not the most straightforward story. MindMed recently acquired a digital health business the old CEO just left, although I regard that actually as more of a positive, because they're bringing a new team with more experience in drug development. Got a partnership with a Swiss startup to develop next-generation psychedelic compounds, shelling out millions of dollars to study this stuff, like $5 million, to help establish a center for psychedelic medicine. Where? At the NYU Langone Medical Center. That's where I do my work. The Electric Ladyland wing, okay, it's not actually called that, but maybe it should be. At the end of the day, though, I've just heard so many positive anecdotes about psychedelics. You know, one of my former colleagues got into an experimental psilocybin trial that helped him beat alcoholism. I was so thrilled for him. It's been a total success, and I'm really proud of the guy. He told a story to Anderson Cooper on 60 Minutes not that long ago. You hear miracle stories about microdosing helping to cure intractable cluster headaches. So I think MindMed's legitimate enough to speculate on, especially since the company seems to have a good working relationship with the FDA. But, and this is the mother of all buts, this story is ridiculously speculative. If you want to bet on MindMed, you have to be prepared to lose all of your money, because there are all sorts of ways this thing could blow up in your face. Maybe they can't figure out how to administer psychedelics safely at scale. Maybe the regulatory environment turns more hostile. Maybe one of MindMed's competitors, like Compass Pathways, beats them to the punch. But maybe, just maybe, Harvard professor Timothy Leary was ahead of his time when 60 years ago, he taught that psychedelics could be the gateway to a saner, safer, more enjoyable life. Oh, by the way, that's why Richard Nixon called him the most dangerous man in America. The bottom line, at $3 and change, I'm inclined to give MindMed my blessing, but only for extreme speculation. While the stock's had enormous run over the past year, it could have a lot more upside if everything works out, and it's going to take a little while. Just don't forget, this thing will blow up in your face if something goes wrong. At which point, you need to turn on, tune in, and drop out. Man, money's back.